AmaZulu King Misuzulu kaZwelithini has appointed Thulasizwe Buthelezi as the new Prime Minister of the Zulu Nation. The King made the announcement at the commemoration of the 145 years since the Anglo-Zulu War, commonly known as the Battle of Isandlwana. For more on this, let's speak to Kuthula Thwala, who is a historical studies lecturer at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Mr. Thwala, a pleasure to have you on the program this afternoon. Let's speak about the significance of this announcement by the King. What does the appointment of Thulasizwe Buthelezi as the new traditional Prime Minister hold in the context of AmaZulu culture?
Thank you very much, Nhlanhla. Let's first congratulate Mr. Thulasizwe Buthelezi for such a big appointment. It actually does not come as a shock, particularly when one recalls that it was made during the commemoration of the historical battle of Isandlwana, where the Zulus emerged victorious unexpectedly so. But what it carries for the Zulu people are the new hopes for what is happening within the royal house. About Thulasizwe Buthelezi himself, remember that he is one person who for some times was touted to be the next leader of the Inkatha Freedom Party for some time before the name of the sitting president of the IFP happened. But the person who has been appointed is seen and is known to be one of the people who has been mentored by the late Chief Mangosuthu Buthelezi, who has, to many people, done a great job in terms of being loyal to the Zulu royal house. So there is that particular hope that the person who has learned a lot from the kind of a person that the late Chief Mangosuthu Buthelezi was is going to steer the ship on the right direction.
And let's speak to those dynamics. Some would argue that Thulasizwe has got big shoes to fill. How does the succession of Thulasizwe Buthelezi, following the late Mangosuthu Buthelezi, impact the leadership dynamics within the AmaZulu nation as well?
Well, from a time immemorial, the Buthelezi family, when you recall the fact that the great-grandfather of the late Chief Mangosuthu Buthelezi, Nyamana Gangelele, was the traditional prime minister of the Zulus when the Zulu kingdom was tested by the what you call colonial intrusion. He stood up to defend what was the Zulu kingdom that was under siege. And following that, later down the years, Chief Mangosuthu Buthelezi, with the new tactics which involve his academic background and political influence and knowledge that he had, he was able to be a relevant person. So I'm saying to you, Thulasizwe Buthelezi, having been a person that was groomed by the Buthelezi, the late Chief Buthelezi, it does not come as a surprise, particularly to people like us who are aware about the history of the strength of that family when it comes to the royal issues.
Mr. Thwala, can you provide insights into the traditional roles and responsibilities of the AmaZulu traditional Prime Minister, and how might Thulasizwe Buthelezi approach some of these situations?
Well, Thulasizwe Buthelezi cannot be like the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi because the dynamics are totally different. Even the king, the sitting king, will be different from his father in a number of ways. This is a king who has got an international exposure. We're in the 21st century. But when Chief Buthelezi took over, the late Chief Buthelezi took over at a time when there was this beginning of what became the homeland system, up until such time that there was a United Nation of South Africa. Because when this thing started, we just had a state that was not having a nation. But the role of the Prime Minister is the one that rallies. Is the second layer to the king. In other words, this is the person who carries everything that pertains to the royal house issues, and he needs to demonstrate unique qualities in terms of leadership, but ensuring that he is in touch with all what are known as the Izinduna of the king, who are always the chiefs under the Zulu kingdom. So that is mainly his role. But obviously, in the 21st century, with the current challenges, it is somebody who also has to have an exposure to the current things happening politically, because we cannot do without politics in the current scheme of things in South Africa.
But are there any specific rituals or ceremonies associated with the installation of the new traditional prime minister in AmaZulu culture? And will these be observed in Thulasizwe Buthelezi's case?
Definitely, there will have to be something to honor the appointment as the symbol, because the people have been waiting, not only among the Zulu nation, people from all over South Africa, Africa and abroad. So the installation of that particular person who has to assume such a big role has to be connected. If you read the comments by the king when he made this appointment, it has a lot to do with the belief that the appointment is something that was done after the consultation with the ancestors of the Zulu royal house. In other words, the king himself, his good life as a king relies heavily on how the traditional prime minister handles himself and how he is able to buy into what the Zulu king wants the nation to do.
You're quite right in saying that we live in different times compared to what the late Mangosuthu Buthelezi probably experienced during his tenure serving three kings. How does the appointment then align with or even reflect the broader cultural and societal changes within the AmaZulu nation?
So that the appointment would also say that whoever appointed the Thulasizwe had to be very careful in terms of ensuring that the realities currently are studied very carefully, so that we have a situation in South Africa where everyone feels that there is no stability, and it has to be somebody that has to undo this disunity and also strengthen what is unique about AmaZulu people, so that the Zulu culture is sold properly and positively to fit in well with the dynamics of the 21st century.
I want to touch on that point. As we know, it's been well reported, all the legal wranglings and the disunity within the AmaZulu nations. What challenges or even expectations might Thulasizwe Buthelezi face in this new role, considering the legacy also left by the late Mangosuthu Buthelezi?
Obviously, there's going to be a challenge, largely because there's these wranglings around who is supposed to be the rightful heir to the late King Kuthula Thwala, but an astute leader who naturally believes and is known. I believe that the late Chief Buthelezi has done very well in terms of being able to brush aside opponents within the family, and also being able to steer the ship towards a right direction. So with Thulasizwe having been led and mentored very closely by the same person I'm talking about here, there is a very big hope, because he is not somebody who's a total stranger to the affairs of the Zulu royal house.
It's quite interesting, because when we heard the announcement being made by the king, he also alluded to other matters, also warning against those who might try challenge his decision. Are there any historical or even traditional precedents that provide some context to this succession within the AmaZulu leadership?
Well, there's not been much. Contestations have widely been on the heirs themselves instead of the traditional prime ministers. What we know about the traditional prime ministers of AmaZulu nation is that they've demonstrated valor, they've demonstrated extraordinary abilities. So what is going to be a challenge for Thulasizwe is how he is able to win the hearts of even those who do not want to see the reigning king in a seat right now. But as I say to you, with the kind of a background, politically and otherwise, and his depth, deeper knowledge when it comes to the traditional affairs within the Zulu royal house, which are not open to the general public, there is a very big hope that things are going to go positively. We are going to see the continuation of what the late king used to do, because we have to bear in mind that while the sitting king, Prince Misuzulu, is there, he has still to assert himself in a manner that will emulate what his father used to do.
Yeah.
So I think with the appointment of Thulasizwe Buthelezi, he's going to get a rightful person who's going to work with him into his new role and give him some confidence.
There was also the name of Inkosi Ciliza Wasemadungeni also announced. How does the role of the Deputy Prime Minister then complement or even support the responsibilities of Thulasizwe Buthelezi in his new leadership role?
Well, even Chief Ciliza of Emadungeni is one of the people who was very closely assigned to the roles and the activities of the late Chief AmaZulu Buthelezi, equally capable. In other words, it's just an attempt on the part of the Zulu monarch to make sure that there is some form of buttressing, to make sure that he gets some positive advice from a person widely known and officially appointed to get into that role, because it's just a question of the fact that these people are appointed. Otherwise, they've been there, they've been working with the late Chief AmaZulu Buthelezi.
And as we wrap up, we also heard salutations and also praises after that announcement that was made. What reactions or even sentiments are you expecting from the AmaZulu community in response to this announcement, considering the legacy of the late Mangosuthu Buthelezi?
Well, the singing of the praises form part of cultural activities which go within the blood of all those who understand the Zulu culture and how things are done. It's a very big announcement. It's like the new baby's born. And knowing that you have, as a commoner, you do not necessarily have a personal contact with the king. But this is the person who is the head of everything that has to do with the Zulu nation. He is the mouthpiece of the king, and he has to have regular contacts with the king and make sure that they walk in the same path at all times. So those who are singing the praises were just asking or praying for the mighty Zulu kingdom to regain the position it held for many decades.
Thank you so much for your insights. That was Kuthula Thwala. He's a historical studies lecturer at the University of KwaZulu-Natal.